It's TEDA time.
Living in Terrebonne, living in Terrebonne. You sure won't want to miss it, and I'll bet that you'll revisit living in Terrebonne.
Local Terrebonne Parish Economic News.
Hello and welcome to this edition of TEDA Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And you know, whenever we talk about TEDA Time, we always have our favorite friend from TEDA, Cohen B. Guidry. My friend, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me come back again.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for being patient with us. We appreciate that
Absolutely.
very much. Sitting next to him with South Central Planning and Development Commission, the grant loan manager, Lisa Malaz. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having us.
All right. Sitting next to her is Ms. Brooke Bajeron, the grant and loan analyst, also with South Central. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us as
All
well.
right. Very cool. Now, listen, I'm so very glad that we have the kind of connections we have. We talk about it all the time, Cohen, about being able to partner with people. This is one of those partnerships that's really worked out in our community when we really needed it.
No, it absolutely has, and it's important. You know, it's one of those groups you're happy to work with because you get to help so many people. We may not have the funding, and of course, everybody comes to us and wants free money.
Sure.
And we don't have it, but we've got these great partners, you know, working alongside of us that we can send them to,
Right.
and know that when we send them to them, that they're well taken care of. Because everyone we send over there, they call us and they say, "Thank you so much. These
Right.
guys really took good care of us, and we're in the line now."
Yeah. So, Lisa, let's talk a little bit about this process. Maybe tell us a little bit about South Central, the Planning and Development Commission, what you guys do, and how y'all go about doing that.
Okay, thank you so much, Keith. The larger commission does a lot of things. We have a
Right.
big IT department, a planning department. We have we do building codes and permits. But what we do is, as the loan department, is we administer recovery programs for small businesses. Their loan programs, and as those loans are paid back, we're able to maintain those funds in revolving loan funds, so we can lend out for non-recovery purposes. And what we're doing right now is the largest recovery loan program for small businesses that the commission has ever undertaken. We have $55 million in loan funds for business recovery for hurricanes of 2020 and 2021. That's Laura, Delta, Ida, and May floods that occurred in 21. And there is an intake office that we like to, we're going to have all that contact information at the end of the program.
Right.
Send all of our small businesses there that are eligible. We'll talk a little bit about all of those eligibility, qualification, all of those things throughout the program.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit about the process. And I know that there's an application process, but things don't just, you can't just say, "Hey, I need some money," and like, "Okay, you're approved, you get it." There's a process that we go through. Can we talk a little bit about that process?
Sure.
And maybe some of the delays that you guys don't have any control over?
Absolutely. So the process starts with a small business making an application. They have to be eligible.
Okay.
So they've got to be in one of the affected parishes. They've got to have either a 20% decline in revenue annually or $10,000 in physical damage. Those are the major qualifications. You got to be in the right area. You have to have one of those two things.
Okay.
Beyond that, the business has to have a $25,000 annual gross revenue in 20 or 20, whatever the year prior to
The
the
year
storm
prior
is.
to the event. Okay.
They can have no more than 50 full-time equivalent employees.
Okay.
What else?
That's the small part,
The
right?
other two.
For eligibility,
Eligibility.
Yeah.
the employees, they have to be a for-profit business.
Okay.
And they have to have 25,000 annual gross and currently,
currently
operating or eligible to reopen with the funds with assistance. If you can reopen, then we can also assist you with the recovery dollars from IDA.
Okay. And so quite frankly, those are just some kind of bare minimums, but a lot of people, and quite frankly, I can think of most of the small businesses, certainly in our area and the neighboring areas, had that kind of damage. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, with
The
this kind of
physical damage
wind
in
effect.
particular.
Right. And so for those that are, $25,000 or more without more than 50 employees, basically.
Yes.
And so that's kind of that small business aspect of that. And then once everything comes in, it goes to intake, right? Everything
Yes.
comes in through intake.
Yes. You can apply online,
Mm-hmm.
and those applications go to our intake office to be completed.
And y'all don't see them until they're completed, right?
Correct.
And there's a process through that.
Yes. So you can either apply online, walk in the door, you can fax the application, any way you can get it to us, you can apply. There's
Right.
a lot of additional documentation that goes along with that.
Right.
So that happens in all of the intake offices. Once the application is entirely complete, it comes through to the loan office where we start checking that it's complete, review for eligibility, calculate an award. It goes on to be underwritten. Can they pay this back?
Right.
That's important because it is a loan.
Sure.
A lot of people don't want to
Right,
want to
right.
look at it that way.
It's
a
an
large
estimated
portion
loan.
is forgivable, but it is
Right.
a loan, so it has to be
Right.
underwritten. Then we go through a lot of other research as part of the process. We have to check if they're low to moderate income business, if they're in a disadvantaged community. All of these things are more of reporting factors. They're not
Right.
eligibility requirements. We just need to report to the state where the businesses we're funding fall into those categories.
Right. And so it's not just that initial application process, but it's an evaluation, it's vetting, if you will,
Definitely.
about how that works. And so it's really interesting to me. I love the fact that at the beginning of the show, I want to talk about the fact that people can still do this through December 31st.
That's right.
But we know that those funds are getting small. So it's important that if people are interested, they need to be able to do that and they need to do it soon. So we're going to empower them to do that and maybe empower them to partner with some people in the area like TEDA does to get things accomplished. Maybe we'll do that. We appreciate y'all sticking around. So thank you very much for doing that. You do that at home as well. We're going to be right back here on TEDA Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of TEDA Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. As we have with us Cohen very often. Cohen, welcome back.
Thank you again.
Yes, sir. And we have Miss Lisa. Lisa, thanks for joining us again. And Miss Brooke as well. So thank y'all. You know, we were talking about this process and we were talking about how people can go about doing this. One of the things that makes it easy is if we can get some help, but you guys seem to have an incredible intake staff for what may be an intimidating process, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that staff.
Keith, the process is complex and intimidating. We
Right.
don't create it; the feds and the state do.
Sure.
So we are there to really help people get through the process. We have an intake staff at our offices in Houma, right next to Evergreen, 5058 West Park.
Right.
You can walk in the door. You can call. We'll have that 1-800 number up there. They are that's what they're there for. That's what they were hired for, and they've gotten really good at it. We've found kind of fluidly some other resources for assistance with these applications. There's
Okay.
a local CPA firm here in Houma that is doing this for their clients. And I'm sure their clients are paying them, but we
Right.
thank them because
Right.
they are getting these applications through. There are two other one-man shop kind of CPAs that have applied for themselves. So local CPAs are really getting involved with this. There's another group out of Lake Charles that's doing something similar.
Right.
So we're really seeing a lot of assistance just kind of anecdotally
Right.
throughout the area of
Okay.
professionals coming in to assist with these applications as well. But our intake staff is free. So
Okay.
you can come and utilize that as well.
Okay, we talked a little bit about the application. We'll put one of the flyers up so they can kind of see some of the terms. Maybe we can go over those terms.
And that's really the kicker. That's
Okay.
that's the best part of this, the benefits that the borrower gets from this program. And this is only available in recovery. You're not
Right.
going to get this as a regular non-recovery loan.
Right.
So the maximum value is $250,000. The minimum is 10. We calculate awards, so it has to fall within that range.
Okay.
It's 0% interest. There's no interest for the entire life of this loan. And 40% of it is forgivable. So the way that it is amortized, you get 6 months of no payments.
Okay.
Again, it's recovery. We're trying to help you.
Right,
6 months
right.
of no payments, and then the payback portion, which is 60%. For example, if you are awarded the maximum 250, you pay back 150,000 over 84 months. That's 7 years. 0% interest. It's about $1,785 a month.
Wow.
And then $100,000 of that maximum loan is forgiven, provided you maintain compliance throughout the life of the loan.
Wow. Remarkable.
Did I
And
miss
again, you
anything,
can
Bob?
you can reach out to them. We've got the small QR code there, but the 1-800-630-3791, and you can reach out to them as well. And again, it's the South Central Planning and Development Commission, and it works with Restore Louisiana. And that's part of the process as well, right? So when people do and go through this application, that it's got several steps to it. The next steps are it's got to go to the state, right?
That's right. And that's really important because once it gets there, we don't have much control over it.
Right.
They will come back to us if there's something missing or something needs to be recalculated. And we tend to do that pretty quickly. They are currently working on the first 13 applications that we were allowed to submit a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So they're working on those, and the majority of them have been approved at that level, and 2 of them were actually funded yesterday.
Oh, my.
There will be a news release on one of the Baton Rouge stations later this
Wow.
afternoon for one of
Wow.
our previous borrowers who
Right.
actually came back to us to apply. It's a
Right.
gas station, convenience store, seafood, boil shop. They sell live and boiled out of Santa Ma.
Okay.
So this is a far-reaching program. It
Yeah.
is the entire South Louisiana
Right.
and a little bit into the capital region, Alexandria, even into North Louisiana. But this particular first funded is Duck Roost Seafood in Santa Ma, Louisiana.
And again, we want to let you know that the process works. We got to go through it. We got to be a little patient. But for people that may be a little intimidated about that, like you mentioned, again, your intake staff, helpful, ready to help them. But if they want to do it in some of these, like you mentioned, some of these tax offices, some of these people that are accountants in town, when they're helping you, they've come through very clean, if you will.
Very much so.
Kind of can make it easier when we're not coming back to ask a bunch of questions. Oh, you missed this or you missed that. That there's some help with that. Go ahead.
They came to us at the very beginning. This one in particular, it's a relatively large firm in the Houma area. They came to us at the very beginning and studied the guidelines and
Wow.
asked questions and made sure they knew how to help these clients because they want to make their clients happy too.
Sure.
And couldn't pass up the opportunity for these clients. So they learned the program and they learned the eligibility requirements. They know if somebody's eligible or not. So if they're not eligible, they don't even send it.
Right.
And
right.
that's been really helpful.
And so education is very, very important. Co and I talk about it all the time about when we partner with somebody, learning that something's not working is not a bad thing. Learning if we don't qualify, it's not a bad thing. We know at least. And we don't go through this process of waiting or really figuring out if we can or not,
We don't want to waste anybody's time,
Sure.
ours or a borrower's or
Yeah.
a CPA firm's.
Right.
We want everybody to get through this as cleanly as possible.
And it's so nice to be able to hear for people that rely so much about those businesses and that their family and their extended families very often rely on those businesses, that we can somehow be made whole. It's kind of like the whole housing project as, trying to figure out what to do after these large events. The business is the thing that is the other thing we need help with. And so it's nice to hear that we've got some approved. It's just nice to hear that that's going through and it's worked. Very positive news for us today. And so we've got some more positive news. We're going to let people know this has been extended. It's December the 31st that people can apply. We went over the terms. We're going to talk about how easy the application is and what to do. So we'll take a short break and come back and do that. Is that all right?
Sounds great.
Very cool. All right, guys, you don't go anywhere either. We'll be right back here on TEDA Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of TEDA Time. Again, your host, Keith Weiss. I'm very glad you're joining us. Very glad to be joined by Cohen and Liz and Brooke, talking about what we have the option for South Central Planning and Development Commission and what we do with these business loans, these small business loans. And so I'm just excited that there's so many good options and we see people that are getting the loan. We see that there are people that have just been approved and are getting those monies. And so, Aaron, put that flyer up. We're going to describe it a little bit. Want to let you know about the qualifications. We talked about it a little bit. Brooke, tell us a little bit more about those.
Oh, to qualify for the loan, you have to have evidence of $10,000 in physical damages or 20% annual gross revenue decline. So we go ahead and we're going to look at your taxes, at your revenues, and calculate if you have that 20% decline in relation to the disaster you're applying for. And then also the same for the $10,000 in damages. You can use an insurance claim, receipts, and documentations for replacements of items or structural damage, anything to help calculate that $10,000 in physical damage. So we can look at several different ways to get you eligible. If you come in, we can assist you in that in our intake officers.
Very cool. And so I love the fact that we've got the number we've talked about, 1-800-630-3791. You mentioned your address. Let's throw that back out again, if you don't mind.
It's
Lisa.
5058 West Main, and it is right next to Southern ENT and Evergreen Junior High.
Right. And now, and also you have up there is a QR code, and it's in the top right corner, but because of the magic of television, we're going to bring it up and put it a little bigger. So
And you can literally point your smartphone at this, take a picture, and I'll bring you to the link. If I can do this, and anybody can.
yeah, and we just did
And
it.
it works.
And this is what comes up. It takes you right into where you can get to the application. And so it is so very easy to be able to do. Aaron, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And it allows people to do that. Go ahead, Lisa.
This is the online application. Please do know that you can come in and we'll help you fill it out by hand if that's what you want to do. You can complete everything online. You can upload all the documents here right to the application. But if you're not comfortable with that, you can fill out the application online and bring your documents, email your documents. There's we're willing to work with you on your terms. So we're
Right.
trying to make this as easy as possible for folks, but please know it can be done all or none online or anything in between.
And so whatever people, thank you very much, Aaron. So whatever people are comfortable with, right? We want them to know that they can bring that stuff up, pull it up, use the QR code. Right now, as we were watching this on TV, we'll let you put the QR code back up, Aaron. They can go right now and look at it and just see if that's something they can do. You know, some of us are better at that than others about using QR codes and going to that website. And then we went, well, maybe I'm a little nervous. I don't know that I want to put that information about my income right there. I'm going to bring that in, right? Or they can talk to one of their favorite accountants, however they want to do that. Some other information, Lisa.
Electronically, the safest way to get your documentation to us, if you do want to go all electronic, is through the application process.
Okay.
Our email is secure. We don't know if your email is secure.
Right,
So if you want to do everything electronically, the application is the way to go. You can upload anything there.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to stress is how we calculate an award. So
Okay.
the minimum is $10,000, but the maximum is $250,000. So we calculate that based on 6 months of your working capital expenses. It's very specific. That's your rent or your mortgage, wages and benefits for all employees except the owners. We do take those out. Utilities, meaning power, internet, phones, water, anything along those lines, gas, and then inventory. That's been a really big one, especially for our fishermen. The state has allowed us to use fuel for inventory for fishermen so that we can really get them awards that are going to help.
Right.
And then movable equipment, anything that's movable, movable freezers, vehicles, cranes, forklifts, boats, equipment on boats.
Right.
So anything like that.
Winches, things that you need to use.
Generators, that's an important one.
Well, and especially with gas prices that have gone up so much. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's more difficult. Supply chain problems, all of those things that we've seen that impact our ability to recover our business. And that's why that's important. You have a thought?
Yes, I would like to add that although we had discussed for eligibility, structure is allowed to make you eligible and count for that $10,000 damage. We cannot use these funds for structural purposes. It will only be for working capital and movable equipment.
Okay, very good. Good clarification.
Yes, thanks, Brooke. And that's because these are federal funds. They're
Right.
direct federal funds, and they would fall under the Davis-Bacon Act. That means any construction project over about $2,000 is subject to public bid, prevailing wage, things that the state or South Central Planning can't get bogged down with if we're trying to get this money out as quickly as possible.
Right. And speaking of, we want people to apply if they're interested and they've seen all of the information here and they're interested. Aaron, put the flyer back up if you don't mind. They can go and call the phone number. They can go use a QR code. But you want to do this quickly. You have till December 31st, which is remarkable that we have that long of a time period since these events to still be able to apply for assistance for a small business loan. And so some final thoughts, Ms. Brooke?
Come out and apply. We have a drop-off rate in Terrebonne Parish. We still have many businesses that are trying to recover from Ida. This money is a great deal and has forgivable portion. Come out and apply as quickly as possible so we can help you as well.
Yeah. Some final thoughts, Ms. Lisa?
Yes, our department is the grant and loan program. We get the grants, we loan the funds. That's what that means. Grants are free money. This is the closest you will ever get to free money. It's 0% interest, and 40% of it is literally free. They are giving it to you. So
Giving it away.
please, whatever it
Do the
takes,
application,
get out there and apply.
Gotcha. And we appreciate it, Cohen, as always. Thank you for partnering with those people making a
Absolutely.
difference. We
Thank you,
appreciate it.
ladies, for coming on and helping us help you.
Yeah, very good.
Thank
All
you.
right, and that will do it for this edition of TEDA Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.